Hi guys, Bill again. Well, Brexit's got the regressives out in force, no mistake. They didn't make any progress with Project Fear, so the new tactic seems to be Project Shame. You know, you're stupid pants for voting leave, or you're badly informed, or you're uneducated. Mostly you're just racist. They're playing that race card like Lily Allen on a second bottle of Pinot. They're throwing the accusation around as if their opponents are just going to stagger back, clutching their breast with a "You got me, partner!" and concede whatever point it is that they're just completely failing to make. Everything's racist though. Waxworks are racists, you know that? They're also sexist, but mainly racist. You see, two sards made a waxwork effigy of Nicki Minaj. It was wearing next to bugger all and it was down on all fours, just like she does in her Anaconda video. It was actually pretty good. I mean, even I recognised it, and everything I know about pop music, you could write on a thumbnail and still have room for a stamp. Well, you know what happened. Naturally, the minute museum guards had their backs turned, the fans were all over the model. You know, they're pawing at it and simulating all sorts of depravity. You know, the way you do. Yeah, it happens. I mean, I remember laughing like a drain years ago when some mates of mine, they brought back a photograph of them, both down on their knees, giving the Pope a blowy. You know, they'd been to one of these, they'd been to the Vatican City and seen one of those waxwork pontiffs. Blasphemy, alive and well. I tell you what though, they're bloody lucky they didn't try that shite in Pennsylvania. There's a link down below, you'll see what I'm talking about there. Anyway, back to Nicki. She was outraged, absolutely outraged, at suggestions that her waxwork doll should be told to cover up or adopt a more demure pose. She thought those selfies, I mean, they were astonishingly rude, but she thought they were funny. She even retweeted some of them. She's a good girl. You gotta ask yourself though, you know, how come a victimless crime is racist? Well, the thinking is that Two Swords doesn't have any white women down in their skimpies cavorting around on the floor. You know, so it's blatantly racist, for fuck's sake. Everything's racist. The Super Bowl's racist. Racist as fuck. You see this year's halftime show? No, I'm not talking about Bruno. Christ, that laddie's got the moves. I mean, you see, when I was his age, I mean, I could shake a wicked hoof, but nothing like that. It's sheer poetry watching him dance. And here was me just thinking he was only a singer. But no, that's not what's got them going. It's the fact the perpetually offended noticed that Beyonce was referencing Malcolm X and the Panthers. Silly girl. Problem is, there's bugger all wrong with referencing one of the most influential political figures of the 20th century. El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz renounced racism. He repudiated his former alliance with the Nation of Islam. He spent the last year of his life trying to build a vision of Pan-Africanism before they shot him, obviously. Now, I've got my opinions on Pan-Africanism, quelle surprise, but it had potential. It had the potential to alleviate a whole bunch of the problems that modern black communities face today. Now, the notion that black communities should take responsibility individually and collectively for their own well-being and their self-determination, it just flies in the face of the infantisation of black communities that the progressives seem to be so intent on achieving. Is it controversial? Yeah, it's controversial. Racist? That's a tough call. You'd have to be very well versed in the politics and the history of the period to be able to make that call. The Super Bowl's organisers, they could see what was coming. You invite the world's richest and most powerful coffee shop feminist to a sporting event that is absolutely dominated by African Americans. And what the fuck do you think's going to happen? You might as well get Chris Rock to do stand-up at half time, you know? And anyway, who's going to tell her no? It's fucking Beyonce. She's been bossing people around since she formed Girls' Time back when she was 8 years old. The organisers had it covered though. I mean, they made damn sure their arses were covered. They had the whitest band in the world playing backing music for her and Bruno. And they even had Chris's wee ginger napper right in there in that final shot. You know when they had the three of them together? Perfect plausible deniability. Racist, that's? No, surely not. Must have been a bit weird for him all the same. You know, here in Britain we don't really have any black people. I mean, I can think of two. There's Ali G and there's Lenny fucking Henry. We've got a lot of people with black skin, but it's not really the same thing, you know. I mean, here in Glasgow, we're lucky enough to have a thriving Nigerian community. One of the guys I work with, he's got some bad news for the social justice wankers. You see, my mate Olon, he thinks that we lack cultural diversity here in Scotland, and he doesn't mean that in a bad way. You see, in Nigeria, they've got this vast plethora of races, cultures and religions. A lot of religions. An awful lot of religions. And try as they might, they really struggle to get on. There's 174 million individuals in Nigeria with almost that many creeds and sects. I mean, have you ever seen The Life of Brian? It's not quite as funny over there. Olon reckons that it's just a never-ending supply of reasons for people to fight each other. And the problem for the social justice wankers is they don't come colour-coded. There's more than 250 ethnic groups in Nigeria, including the Hausa and the Fulani at about 29% of the population, the Yoruba at 21%, the Igbo at 18%, the Ijaw at 10%, the Kanuri at 4%, I can never pronounce this, Ibibio, whatever, at 3.5%, the Tiv 2.5%. But in spite of, they've got very different, in spite of all the differences in them, I mean even physical differences, the stubborn gits, they all insist on having the same skin tone. Can you imagine that? I mean, if you're a social justice wanker, how are you going to tell who's being oppressed? Now Glasgow's the other way around. You know, we've got about 250 different skin colours, probably more than that. But Olin reckons we're just one ethnic group. We're all the same, according to the big man. I mean, check this out.
I'm half Indian, half Scottish. That is two very separate characters on The Simpsons to them, right? That is...
So my name's Danny, yes, I'm from Scotland, not Ireland. You don't seem to think I'm from Irish. When you hear my accent, you go, are you Irish? I'm not Irish. It's not difficult to tell the difference between a Scottish and an Irish person. This is a Scottish person talking to you right now. Hello, how are you? Very nice to be here. This would be an Irish person. Diddly-dee, potatoes. Did you hear that? Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Scotland. You know, I do miss Scotland when I'm away from home. And I miss the things you don't expect people from Scotland to miss. I miss the brown grass. And the rain that hurts your face. I miss the beaches. People say, well, Danny, you spend 6 months of the year in Australia. They have the best beaches in the world. I find them quite bland, to be honest. All those big, long, white, sandy affairs. Children running up and down. You can't run on a beach in Scotland, you'd break your bloody legs. All those big black slippery rocks. Christ, I'm glad I said that right.
That's Danny Chundry, by the way. He's better known as Danny Boy. He's every social justice wiener's worst nightmare. I mean, he's male, he's wealthy, he's well educated. I mean, he's fair gagging with the male privilege, I think. But he's also a bit, well, you know, not white. In fact, to be perfectly honest, he's a rather fetching shade of brown. From an Indian family. You know, India, the Raj, the Empire, Gandhi, oh, by the goddess, the oppression. Yeah. You see, the lazy thinking that these fuckers get up to, it comes a bit undone with Danny. The only way they can really accept him is if his act is just a work of irony. You know, if he's actually poking fun at white Scottish people and their awful, sinful lifestyle, which would be one of the worst imputations of malice you've ever heard. I mean, how much of a wanker would somebody have to be to make a career out of becoming a racist caricature? Now, hold on. He doesn't see an Indian taking the piss out of his white oppressors. He sees a man that's dressed like all the other Scots, moving the same way they do, finding humour in the same things. He sees a Scotsman. So do I. I reject the regressive claim that British people are inherently racist. I repudiate the imputations of malice. I refuse to be shamed for having valid concerns about who we're inviting into our country or the number of people that we can shelter and support. Brexit wasn't about race, no matter how loudly they're crying, no matter how much they're protesting. The accusation is false. Now, 3 months from now, the Conservatives are going to win by the kind of landslide that redefines political landscapes. We don't have time for this pish. The Labour Party, the official opposition, they're facing the worst defeat they've ever suffered. And those fuckers need to take their head out their arse. They need to stop spitting in the face of the electorate. Enough of this playing at social justice warrior. A weak opposition is not healthy for the country. It's time to ditch all that butthurt, sulky teenager shite and actually face up to the reality of Britain's future. 2 years from now, we're going to be facing the world outside of the world's biggest, richest trading bloc. It could be a great thing. It could be a disaster. Either way, we need strong leadership. We need statesmen, stateswomen. We need a confident, working parliament. What we don't need is the bourgeoisie insulting the pros for actually having the temerity to exercise their democratic will. Fucking regressive. Anyway, laters.